This is Essie Featured. This is the power of sports.
I thought I knew what was my emotions and reaction was going to be, and like right now I just don't know.
A racer's legacy is defined by the finish. Bryan Clauson's finishes were often first. But it was his last race, the one he didn't finish, that lives on.
We didn't get babysitters and that. He was either in the stands or he was down in the pits with us. I'd run 40, 50 races a year, which didn't leave a lot of time really to do anything else. Bryan started racing quarter midgets when he was 5 years old.
He would sit in the grandstands watching. Then he'd go down in the pits later in the night and tell his dad what he did wrong and what he did right. He could run asphalt, he could run dirt, he could run sprint car, Silver Crown car, and then hop into an IndyCar. And that piece of it is what he took pride in.
Bryan Clauson takes over the lead and off of turn 4. 91 in 2016 to Bryan Clauson.
By the time Bryan was 27, he was considered one of the top dirt track racers in the country, a reputation that carried him to the biggest stage in racing. In 2016, the Indiana native was making his third start in the Indianapolis 500.
I remember walking out on the morning of the race, to the grid with Bryan and looking around. When they introduced Bryan for driver introductions, he got one of the loudest cheers. Bryan Clauson, Noblesville, Indiana, and it was just goosebumps.
100 footing of the Indianapolis 500.
For him to get that opportunity and to carry the dirt track world on his shoulders, it was the moment where I realized that my brother had made it.
He finished the race that year for the first time, and when he got out of the car after 500 miles at Indy, he came over and he hugged me and he said, "We did it."
Indy would always be a highlight, but Bryan's heart was at the dirt track. Every August, he raced in one of its premier events in Kansas, the Belleville Midget Nationals.
Kind of separates me from the boys, so it's a lot of fun. You can't really fake your way into a Belleville.
When you won Belleville, it separated you from the others. You were known as a pretty badass race car driver. That night, it was just amazing. He went from 9th to leading it in 13 laps.
I texted my dad when Bryan took the lead, and I put my phone down on my right side. Out of the corner of my left eye, I saw a car crashing. And before I even had a clear view of it, I knew it was Bryan.
He was upside down, and a car drove through him. I just remember Tim yelling really loud, "Get the ambulance over here."
I saw him, knocked out. It was Obviously, it was a devastating hit. I do remember him opening up his eyes and staring right at me. And you know, for a moment I thought, okay, he's going to be all right.
Bryan was airlifted to a trauma center in Lincoln, Nebraska. His heart stopped twice during the transport.
The nurse said, okay, the doctor's going to come out and talk to you, and he can be very abrupt. She said, so prepare yourself for that. And she said, but he's going to give you the facts and not sugarcoat it. And I said, okay. He stepped forward and he said, Bryan has a very serious brain injury. The chances of recovery, none.
How are you going to go on? How are you going to, keep, providing for your family when a piece of you is not there? It's just, that's the easiest way to describe it. It's just devastation completely.
He was going to get married. He was going to have kids. He was going to be an uncle. My baby boy was supposed to have an uncle. And now he doesn't. And so why does that happen? This all has to happen for a reason. And the day that we found out that, he was a donor, that was our why.
Just 1 month after Bryan's death, his family began writing letters to the 5 people who received his organs.
Dear Tim and family, I can't begin to tell you how happy and moved I was in receiving your letters in late September. They were part of my healing process. I don't want this letter to be about me, but I think you have a right to know. In the Army, we always felt that the soldiers we lost in combat were the real heroes. No greater love does a man have than he lay down his life for a friend. You may find it surprising, but I began praying for you and Bryan over 3 years ago while I was still unconscious, having suffered a massive heart attack. During that period of time, I received a very clear spiritual message that I would someday get a new heart. You folks are eager to move forward, and we are there to move forward with you. We as a family would love to meet you. In God's love, Dan, Bryan's heart recipient.
I thought I knew what was my emotions and reaction was going to be, and like right now I just don't know.
Hopefully be able to hear his heartbeat again. Me as a mom thinks that will be really, really special.
It's the first day of spring, and my life is starting over again.
Is it this one right here?
I had in the center of my chest something they loved. And that, to me, maybe it was Bryan, I don't know. Or maybe it was just me, or maybe it was the two of us together, but I loved them. I never even met them, but I loved them already. And I could tell from their letters that they loved me.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
All right, come on.
Are you? God bless you.
There is a hope in every new seed.
Thank you.
So good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Come on, you can fit in here too.
Know I love you, and you know that. Well, I know
Okay, so who's going to do it first? Okay. It's going to knock me over here.
He's strong.
No, you can let it go. You can let it go.
It was what I needed, and I didn't even know it. And it continues to do that for me every day.
I tell you, I turned the corner, and I didn't know at that. You know, up at really.
Counting down
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't know. I really didn't know. You know, and I'm sitting here going, I'm really glad we did this. I'm really glad.
Like, as a daughter, I couldn't imagine losing my dad. And, you know, like, I'm so happy that Bryan was able to give you those moments with your kids and with your wife and with your grandkids. And, you know, those are things that give us, you know, peace, knowing that Bryan was able to give that to somebody.
Amen. It's not every day that someone dies for you and you continue to live because of the sacrifice he made.